So, my name is Dida Berku. I am the city councillor for many years, 30 years, and deputy mayor for the past 4 years. I am joined here today by a whole team, but before I start introducing everybody, I just want to say the following. Considérant que notre audience est majoritairement anglophone, nous allons procéder en anglais. S'il y a des questions, si vous voulez faire une intervention, sentez-vous bien à l'aise. On peut parler les deux langues. En fait, Nathalie, c'est sa langue maternelle. Donc, je vais continuer en anglais parce que ça va être plus facile pour l'audience. Okay? So, as I said, I welcome you all here, and I hope that we will have a very instructive, engaging afternoon. I know that there's still people standing. I would appreciate if those people could find seats because that's what we need now. I also hear phones ringing. Watches ringing. You guys are all equipped, right? Okay, so see if you can turn down the volume and maybe even turn off the ringers. I'm going to start right away, but first I'm going to introduce the people who are joining us here today. So I am here in the capacity as the councillor who has been driving the Smart City program for the past over 5 years. Since 2018 we started. And Tanya Abramovitch is the Associate City Manager and in charge of urban strategy, as you can see on the screen. And also you have copies of the PowerPoint on the table for those of you who want to follow on the table. But I know, but we don't have enough for everybody because you have, frankly and honestly, you've overwhelmed us, and we really appreciate your presence here today. Nathalie Bier is a researcher at the Université de Montréal. She is our in-house researcher. Well, in-house. She is the one with whom we've partnered over the past few years. And she's the one who was leading, along with Mélanie Couture, she was leading the Living Lab project. So what you're going to hear today, as you know, you're going to hear a summary of where we came from, how we got here, and what we did the past 2-3 years, and where we're going. Okay, and then we want to have your feedback and input. I also want to mention the attendance of Philippe Chateauvert, who is our Director of Public Security and Emergency Medical Services. And you all know that we have one of the best EMS systems in Quebec, I would say. So that's very important. And also from the library, we have Janine. Where are you? Oh, there she is. And Margot, and Danielle, and Katie, and that's it. And Maria, right. So they're all here, and they're people who are a great resource to us. And we're very, very happy to be able to be here with you. Bon, alors je continue. I don't know if I should take off or put on my glasses. It's very difficult. So basically, oh yes, and one last person that I want to mention is Mark Shrieky. Where are you? Oh, okay. So he was our technology, what was your title, Mark? You were the project and technology director for the Smart City Challenge, and also Daryl Levine, our communications director, who's a very important contributor to all projects, and especially to the Smart City Challenge and to the Living Lab. So we invite you all to take a few moments to identify these people, and we could talk to them later if required. Just want to give you a little background about how this all started so we can better understand where and how we would like to go from here. So I'm going to go to the next slide. So this journey started in 2017, actually. What happened was the federal government launched the Smart City Challenge for cities. And I was chosen, thank you very much, to find ways that the city could improve the lives of its residents through smart technologies and better practices. So we submitted a first proposal. We got $250,000 for that first proposal, and that got us started on this journey. And at that point, we recognized basically that the social isolation and keeping seniors safe and secure in their homes was a major challenge in Côte Saint-Luc. That was identified by the population itself. And we wanted to address this problem of social isolation and aging at home, safety and security through technology. And the idea was that other adults could live more autonomously at home with the knowledge that the city was looking out for their well-being. We identified the challenges facing trying to meet your daily needs and getting access to health and social services, and which all require what we call the integrated approach, right? So older adults need more than just safety and security. They also need social engagement, which many of you are already very aware of because you're part of clubs and associations, but not all senior adults in Côte Saint-Luc are part of clubs and associations, and many of them, as we know, are living at home in isolation. So we came up with the Village Initiative, which is basically this document that we produced with the help of the team. And the three main pillars were to to get a connected framework, leveraging smart devices and related technologies. So first we had the notion of the connected framework. Then we wanted to empower seniors to live more safely and independently in their homes. And the third was that we wanted the seniors to be better connected to their communities and city services and be more socially engaged. So you have those three pillars on the screen. And this is how we came to those conclusions, because like today, we held many sessions, we sent out letters, we did surveys, we had consultations and information sessions, and we're going to continue that today. At the end of our presentation, you're going to be consulted, and there's a survey here for you because we're going on to the next phase. So we came to this connected technology framework where basically the senior, the adult, is at the center, at the core of what we call the connected technology framework. Sounds like a very fancy name, but at the core, at the center, the senior is the most important, the person that we call the adult participant. Basically, this is the care map. I don't know if you've ever done an exercise of care map, but if someone were to ask you, who would you call or who would someone call in the event of an emergency or in the event that something happened to you? So many people give different answers, right? My son, my daughter, but a lot of people don't have that ecosystem. And we felt that what we wanted to do is really create it for seniors in Côte Saint-Luc. So if you look at it and you go around the person, you see you've got the friend, 911, the daughter, the neighbor, the grandchild. Transport seemed to be a very important one. The caregiver, the village app, the VCOP, which is our volunteers on patrol and part of the emergency system, public security. Alerts, what is alerts? That's sort of the digital support is in the inner circle. So you have the telephone 911, the village app also is digital. And then the alerts is something that we're going to talk about in a minute. Nathalie va vous l'expliquer, because this was a system of telemonitoring, just putting in, passive sensors into people's homes to see how they conduct their daily lives. Then we had the passive monitoring, exactly, that's the next thing. Then we had the superintendent in your building, the voice assistance, fall detection, vitals monitoring. A lot of people are wearing, these smart Fitbits and watches and everything else, and the SOS button. Some of you even have that as well. So that was kind of our vision, but as I explained, we said we prepared this vision. We did not get the $10 million prize, but what we did get was a very clear idea and a framework of how to move forward so that we could do this in Côte Saint-Luc. And that leads me directly to Nathalie, qui va prendre la parole maintenant pour nous expliquer comment on a traduit cette vision à Côte Saint-Luc avec une subvention with a research grant that we got over the past 3 years. And I think that it's been a success, and now we have to move on to the next stage. So, merci beaucoup. Et la parole est à toi, Nathalie. Merci.
Merci, Dida. Bon après-midi tous. I will continue in English, but if my accent is a problem, because I'm sorry, English is my second language, just let me know and I can try to re-explain in other words. Or Tanya, you can complete anytime. So the Living Lab, what we wanted to do is to take one piece of this whole framework and try to understand it better, try to understand how do people, older adults in the Côte Saint-Luc community, how do they want to interact with the technology? Is it important for them? To whom do they want to share the information that are collected with those technologies? So we created a Living Lab, and I'm going to explain very quickly what is a Living Lab. So a Living Lab is like an ecosystem of people that we deploy into the city of Côte Saint-Luc with representatives of each stakeholders that offers services to older adults, but also with seniors themselves. So as you can see here, you have the big community of Côte Saint-Luc, and within the community of Côte Saint-Luc, we created a small group of work. We had older citizens, we had caregivers, we had people from the CLSC, we had the EMS, employees from the city, and so on. And together, we worked to better understand how we could use monitoring, maybe as a new service that could be used in the city. So to do that, we did 4 big steps. Today is the 4th one. So we're finishing today. We're closing the loop. So step 1, I'm going to talk about all those steps a little bit more in details. Step 1 was to understand the role of each stakeholders in the community of Côte Saint-Luc. When we want to support older adults with difficulties, let's say in activities of daily living, mobility, and so on, who offers service and for whom and how? Then step 2, we work together to try to develop a new service based on technology. And I'm going to also explain which technology. So we did a lot of working group and workshops around smart homes in particular. And step 3, we wanted to use the service for real. So we did a small, I would say, experimentation with a couple of seniors that wanted to help us try to understand how we could use it for real in the community. And then today, the 4th step, we're sharing the results. So for step 1, we wanted to know who does what in Côte Saint-Luc when we want to support an older citizen who has difficulties in activities of daily living. So as you can see here, with 52 participants, we did like a map of all the organizations that offer supports in the city of Côte Saint-Luc. So you have community support, you have the private sector, you have the public sector, and you also have what we call a support system, which is the family, neighbors, people that are very close to the seniors. Then we ask all the participants and many seniors. We interviewed 96 seniors, and we asked them if we use technology in your home. This technology generates data on your health, on your activities of daily living, on your mobility. With whom would you be interested to share this information to receive support? So let's say this information says that you may have a little bit of difficulties with preparing your food. Who will receive this information to help you? And as you can see, many arrows disappeared. So for the older adults, it was very important that the information coming from the telemonitoring could be only shared with people they trust. and people they trusted were their family, neighbors, and also clinicians from the CLSC. So more specifically, what the older adults wanted, and we worked, in many working groups, they told us that the telemonitoring data should first come to them. They should be the first to see this information, to check their data, and then to decide if they're willing to share it to trusted people to receive support or help. So what we did in step 3 is that we deployed telemonitoring technologies for real. So more specifically, what we did is that we used sensors that you probably have in your home if you have an alarm system. So sensors that detect movement, sensors that detect openings of doors, sensors that detect the utilization of the electricity. And all this information is pushed into our servers at the university, and then we analyze it, we filter it with a little bit of artificial intelligence, and it tells us what the person is doing in her home or his home. So we know, for example, the pattern of sleep, if the person is able to prepare food, to go out of the house. So it gives us an overview of the difficulties that an older adult with some difficulties in activities of daily living could be detected to receive some help. So we deployed it in 16 older citizens of Côte Saint-Luc houses, and we gave access to the telemonitoring information to 9 caregivers who were willing to participate to the project too, as well as to clinicians from the CLSC. Then we asked them, what do you think about smart homes? Do you think it's interesting? Do you think it could be useful? Are you interested into the information that the smart homes is giving to you and your caregiver and the CLSC? And the participants said yes, for sure. They were very satisfied. For them, it was an accurate representation of their routine. They had no privacy concerns, or for them, only trusted people could access to their data, and they were very happy about that. Caregivers said that it was very relevant information because they said that it's an information that they cannot access to differently. Otherwise, for them, it was a way to keep an eye on their loved ones while respecting their privacy, because there were no cameras, no sounds, so it's only sensors that gather movement. And for them, it was also super useful for caregivers who are more introverted or do not interact frequently with their loved ones. As for the clinicians from the CLSC, they said that this information was super useful for them, most specifically for older adults that are more isolated and with cognitive difficulties, so that they cannot very easily talk about their difficulties that they encounter on a day-to-day basis. So everyone was super happy about the system, but although participants had accepted to take part in this research project, they shared very little intent to use it outside of the research project context. So they found it interesting, but they said, not necessarily for me. So apart from those results, the Living Lab was also an opportunity for all the partners and the stakeholders of the city of Côte Saint-Luc to come together and to understand what they were doing. I'm doing this, you're doing this. Oh, I didn't know about the service you were offering. So we were able to break silos, voilà. And in particular, silos between the EMS and the CLSC René Cassin. And if you have more questions, Philippe will probably answer that at the end of the conference. But what was very interesting is that we found communication breakdowns between the EMS and the CLSC. So within the collaboration in the Living Lab, those two, I would say, organizations were able to get together and to share a new way of managing their collaboration. So it was the Living Lab was a fertile ground to enable the creation of a referral protocol between the EMS and the CLSC. So now I heard that it works like a charm. Very happy to hear that. Beyond telemonitoring, the Living Lab was also an opportunity for partners to discuss some misuses of the resources in the community of Côte Saint-Luc. Again, the EMS mentioned that some of their services were maybe not used by people that really needed it, so they tend to receive calls that are more, let's say, social community emergencies instead of medical emergencies. For example, someone that calls the 911 because they cannot get out of their house or they cannot get out of their bathtub. So for them, it was not necessarily their role to support those kind of needs, and this is why we work closely with the CLSC to find other ways to give support and access to the healthcare system to older adults in needs. And people from the city public pool, that was very interesting. So they told us that although we know that city facilities like the public pool are not intended to support older residents' hygiene, many older adults use them for this purpose because they are more accessible, they're more safe. And they knew that there's always someone that could be present in case of a fall. So unlike their own homes, some older adults told us that they could not adapt their bathroom, for example, so that they are not able to take their showers in their own room. So they go to the pool to do their hygiene. So again, here, a reflection that maybe they're missing some very important healthcare services to a population that is in need. And finally, the Living Lab was also an opportunity to discuss what is missing in the community, what are the type of services that could be very useful but that are not existing in the city of Côte Saint-Luc. So they talked about community kitchens. For the participant, it was seen as a potential solution to many challenges, such as poverty, malnourishment, and the rising of food costs. They talked about public shuttle service, and also an accompaniment service. Yeah, pronounce it right, accompaniment service. Just not for transporting, but also to support, to, for example, go to the medical doctor with someone that is isolated or that has memory problems, to help retain the information that the doctors will be sharing and so on. Finally, last slide, and then I will passer la parole à Tanya. So the Living Lab was also an opportunity to highlight a very, very dynamic community and city, I have to say. So we had very dynamic stakeholders who completed surveys, who took part in many workshops, focus group, work meetings during 3 years. Very engaged older citizens, caregivers, also the CLSC clinicians who took part in the real-world deployment of the telemonitoring system, and very devoted employees. So you have to know that Dida, Tanya, Katie, we met every 3 weeks during 3 years to work on this project and to make sure that we answer as best as we can the needs of older adults that are isolated in the city of Côte Saint-Luc. So thank you very much.
Before I even begin, I want you to give yourselves a round of applause, because this turnout makes us proud. We have people, we have guests, and you just showed exactly why Côte Saint-Luc is amazing. So please give yourselves a round of applause. Okay, our seniors have been the heart of Côte Saint-Luc for as long as I know, as long as I remember. The city has had a very large senior population, one of the largest proportions in Canada. We have 35,000 people in Côte Saint-Luc, and 28.7% were age 65 and over. I gotta say, this number has actually gone down. In 2001, it used to be 33.4%. So while the proportion of our population of seniors is shrinking, the fact is you're still more or less a third of the population consistently. So I've been with the city for 24 years next week. And for all this time, the city of Côte Saint-Luc has been committed to improving the health and well-being of older adults through programs and services, mostly at the library and recreation. We provide leisure, physical fitness, intellectual opportunities, and places to socialize. Now, this relationship that we had going for years and years and years, and our understanding of seniors really evolved in different chunks. So the Smart Cities Challenge was one of them. COVID made our understanding explode. We did not know so many of the things that we learned with COVID and how we had to help people find food. And it really opened our eyes to many things we weren't aware of before. And then more people came out, more things came out with the Living Lab. So now we're looking at the horizon. What is next? Where do we go from here? And, the world right now is filled with difficulty, and many of these things affect seniors disproportionately. Things like climate change, it impacts you more than almost anybody else. So how can we in the city, ensure that we're supporting you in the ways you want and need to be supported? So we need a plan. So we need a framework, and we have to co-create this plan with you. So one framework, and this is the one we've chosen for the moment, is the age-friendly municipality designation. En français, c'est de municipalité amie des aînés. So this is the Quebec variation of an initiative that actually came from the World Health Organization. It started in 2007, and the idea is to make cities more in tune to the needs and requirements of older adults, and it formalizes the commitment to seniors by creating an action plan for which we will be held accountable, not just to you, because we have to report on what's going on, but also to the government. So this is a commitment that we started to engage in. Age-friendly communities promote healthy and active aging. They maintain people's independence, but giving them access to community support and the services they need. So across the province, there's already 1,000 communities that are either already designated or in the process of. And honestly, the fact that Côte Saint-Luc isn't, it's time. So we feel that we got to do this, and plus, also there's money attached to it from the government, which is always nice. So under the aegis of the MATA program, the city set up the steering committee, which includes senior organizations, it includes seniors as well, plus staff and elected officials, and we are embarking on this together to create a seniors policy and action plan with concrete goals, concrete objectives. So we have other action plans in the city. We have the action plan for the integration of persons with a disability, and we update this every year. I don't even know if you know we have this, but we do. And the goal is always to move the needle forward. And to move the needle forward in the categories, you see these petals, they're impossible to see, so I'll tell you what's on them. So things like we have to move the needle forward for outdoor spaces and buildings, for housing and living environments, for transportation and mobility, for social participation, for leisure, respect and social inclusion, community and information, health and social services, and safety and security. I would also add that part of this vision is to tap into your wisdom and apply your knowledge and experience to support people as they age, so that things you've learned, things you wish you had done differently or known, that this gets transmitted for people as they are also aging in a prevention way before they hit the magic 65. The process of aging begins long before that. I can attest to this very neatly. How can we rethink or relook at what we do in the city with seniors in mind as a reflex? It's like, okay, how would this thing be for seniors, whatever we're starting? So this is what's been preoccupying us. And I'll just give you an example. I'll give you the example of parks. In our city, we have a lot of parks. We have like 32 of them, but we've generally and historically designed them for families with kids. So if we say, we're trying to promote well-being and we want physical activity and we want to create pro-social spaces, then we have to talk to the older adults to understand what you need in a public space and not just assume that you're going to be bringing your grandchildren and you just want to sit on a bench. That's the best we've done for you so far. It's not enough. So does our urban furniture or benches, do they even work for you? Can you get on and off them easily? These are questions that we've never honestly really asked, and these are the kinds of things that we want to know. What's become crystal clear for me, like as a person, is that the model of agency is changing. And what I mean is, 20 years ago, we used to prescribe what we thought you wanted. So we provide programs, you come to the programs, and we never really did public consultations. They weren't as much of a thing, let's say 20 years ago. But now what we see is the success that occurs in this great adventure that is aging when seniors do it for themselves. When you design your activities, when you voice your needs, when you build up your own capacity, it works. And look at the Women's Club. And I'm going to use this as an example at the moment. It's incredible. It was a small little organization that has now exploded. Hello, everyone in the room. And it's working. And it's you who are driving this. It's not the city saying you should do this and you should do this. We recently had a focus group at St. Patrick's Square, and they have a ton of things going on, and they're all driven by seniors. So our role then as a city becomes to enable and empower you and support you in the initiatives you want according to your needs. Talk to us. We want to do this, but we have these obstacles. We have these missing resources. And then we work together with you to figure out how to overcome those. So we're in the process of creating all sorts of plans in the city, not just this one, the master plan, the strategic plan that's coming out this year. We're updating our emergency preparedness plan, and they'll all speak to one another in one form of this coherent whole, but we need a constant dialogue with you to stay attuned to those needs and also keep you informed so you can make decisions for your life. So it's a dialogue. It's not just one way or the other. So the end we have in mind, and it's worth saying, is that we want to be a city where all residents thrive, where we're all connected, that people feel good, and they have a sense of purpose. So we have a workshop section, and I'm trying to figure out how to do this because we are so many people that our little individual table workshop is not going to work as well as I thought. So I'll figure out how to do it. I think we might just have an open session where I ask the questions we were going to ask at the table because, frankly, I want everyone to be included. So the subjects at hand, they're going to be public spaces, communication, and well-being. And I just want to spark your thoughts about those for a second so we know what we're talking about. So in the past 15 years, I would say, public spaces have been very considered in Côte Saint-Luc. We have a committee, we have a public spaces committee, and we've all been formally trained by this organization called Project for Public Spaces out of New York City for how to design spaces well. Now, we need to upgrade our practices a bit, including residents from more groups we don't tend to hear from, including you. I will ask you to tap your imagination, your travels, what you wish Côte Saint-Luc would have, and also consider a part of public spaces. The streets are also part of this. How is it to walk in Côte Saint-Luc? What is your experience? Do you want to? Do you feel comfortable in our public spaces? So we'll talk about that in the workshop part. Then we have communication. Obviously, you're here because somehow you've heard of this event, and whatever we did, it worked, and we have harnessed the power of allies and word of mouth. So we push out, as a city, communication in all sorts of ways. We want to know how you hear about resources you can tap into, not just what's going on, but where do I go when I get out of the hospital and I need this? Or what do I do when that? There's resources, whether it's from the city or outside organizations, how you get into those. We want to know the best way to talk to you and pick your brains about all kinds of topics. We would also like some insight into tapping the community word of mouth network. I always say there's 2 degrees of separation in Côte Saint-Luc, and some people say it's 1.5. But fundamentally speaking, Côte Saint-Luc has an incredible word of mouth network, and I don't know if we maximize it. I don't know if it's like we got that groove or not. And getting information to buildings, should we post things? So these are kinds of questions for communication. And lastly, well-being, which is obviously a big topic. It's a holistic concept that on one hand is highly subjective, and on the other hand, there's measurable indicators that tell you whether you have well-being. So there's different kinds: physical, social, intellectual, emotional, spiritual, financial, and environmental. So when we're talking about well-being, we really mean the whole enchilada, as it were. So in your workshop, we want to know what the concept means for you, and we have questions about it. So I was going to say you separate into groups and then we get back together, but since we're going to have to do this in a different way, I just want to point out that, number one, you can follow along whatever there is, anything we do with engagement. We have an Engage website, cotesaintluc.org/engage. This is the specific age-friendly one, but all the engagement we do is on that website. Et en français, c'est cotesaintluc.org/contribuer. So we were going to break into groups, but I think what we're going to do is just dive into the questions we have for you. And I'll try to make it so that we cover people from different parts of the room. I really wish we could have gone to the tables, but you overwhelmed us with your presence, so it's awesome.